You know, every time you use a chatbot, there's this invisible war being waged deep inside the silicon. It's this fundamental conflict right at the heart of modern AI, the battle between making it incredibly fast for you, a single person, and making it affordable enough to serve millions of people all at once. Today, we're going to break down this clash of titans. Okay, so let's dive right in. Here's our game plan. We'll start by looking at how the rules of the game have totally changed. Then we'll meet our two titans of optimization. We're going to understand the battlefield they're fighting on, which is the GPU itself, and then see what happens when they inevitably collide. And finally, we'll explore how engineers are actually forging a truce and what that means for the future of AI. You know, back in the early days of generative AI, success was pretty simple. How fast could the model start typing back to you? That was it. But as these tools went from being cool experiments to being essential infrastructure that millions of us rely on, the whole definition of performance had to change. The focus shifted from just pure, raw speed to brutal economic efficiency. The goalposts didn't just move, they moved to a whole new field. We went from obsessing over time to first token, which is all about your experience, how fast it feels to you, to a brand new obsession, throughput. The big question became less, how fast is it for me? And more, how many words can we pump out per second, per dollar, across this entire massive system? And it was this economic pressure that really set the stage for the conflict we're about to see. So, this new goal of system-wide efficiency gave rise to two really powerful, but as you'll see, fundamentally opposing strategies for making AI work at scale. It's time to meet our titans. On one side, you have continuous batching. This is the champion of scale. Its strategy is simple. Just pack as many user requests as you possibly can onto a single GPU and process them all in one big go. This absolutely maximizes your hardware use and your throughput. But then, on the other side, you have speculative decoding, the champion of speed. It uses a tiny, zippy little model to just guess the next few words for a single user, and that dramatically cuts down their personal wait time. So one is all about serving the crowd. The other is about serving you, the individual, instantly. Okay, so to really understand why these two brilliant ideas are on a collision course, we have to look at the battlefield itself. And that's the physical, unchangeable limitations of the hardware they both have to run on. This seems like a total paradox, doesn't it? I mean, we have these incredibly powerful chips that cost a fortune, yet, for just one person, generating a single word can be surprisingly slow. Well, the answer isn't in the chip's ability to calculate. It's all about its ability to get the data it needs. 140 gigabytes. Let that sink in. That's roughly the size of a big language model like Llama 370B. And to generate just one token, a single word or even part of a word, the GPU has to move all of that data from its main memory. That is a massive, massive data transfer operation for a tiny, tiny piece of work. And this creates a state that engineers call memory bound. Basically, the GPU's powerful processing cores are just sitting there, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for that 140 gigabytes of data to finally show up. This waiting creates these little gaps of idle compute time. And this, right here, is the crucial point. That little bit of free, unused resource is exactly what our champion of speed, speculative decoding, was designed to pounce on and exploit. But here's the problem. The champion of scale, continuous batching, sees that exact same idle time not as an opportunity, but as pure waste. And it aggressively fills every single one of those idle cycles with work from other users to maximize its own efficiency. It completely saturates the GPU. So the very resource that speed relies on to exist is completely consumed by scale. And this leads us to a direct and pretty much inevitable conflict. When you try to run both of these powerful strategies on the same hardware, the system doesn't just get a little slower, it can actually break in two very specific and very bad ways. The first failure mode is pretty straightforward: compute contention. It's just a traffic jam. Both systems are fighting for the same processing cores, and everything just grinds to a halt. But the second problem, the ragged tensor problem, that one is much more subtle and honestly much more dangerous. See, normally, a GPU processes data in a nice, neat, orderly block. Think of a perfect spreadsheet where every user's request moves forward by exactly one step, altogether. But with speculation, all bets are off. User A might jump ahead 3 steps, user B doesn't move at all, and user C leaps forward by 5. All of a sudden, your data isn't a perfect rectangle anymore. It's this jagged, irregular mess that standard GPU operations simply can't handle. And the risk here is just immense.
If you don't solve this ragged data problem, you end up with a system that feels really fast, but it's just producing absolute nonsense. All those speed gains become completely meaningless because the answers are just flat out wrong.
So how in the world do engineers solve this impossible conflict? Well, they don't pick a winner. Instead, they've been designing a whole new generation of incredibly clever architectures that find a way to forge a truce, allowing speed and scale to finally learn how to coexist.
The first set of solutions really focuses on the software. So you have techniques like SpecFormer, which makes the little guesser model much, much smarter by tweaking how it pays attention to the context of a sentence. Then there are others, like Falcon, that use a special training technique to distill all the knowledge of a huge model down into a smaller, but still highly accurate draft model. The big theme here is making the guesses smarter, not just faster.
Then other approaches started to rethink the hardware itself. Mirror speculative decoding physically separates the two titans. It's basically running the speedy draft model on a totally separate specialized AI chip, like a neural processing unit, while the big model stays on the GPU. Meanwhile, EXPEC acts like this brilliant traffic controller, regrouping user requests on the fly to prevent those jagged data jams we were just talking about from ever happening in the first place. But what's really crucial here is that there is no single magic bullet. There's no one perfect solution. Each one of these involves a different engineering trade-off. For SpecFormer, the risk is the quality of its guesses. For Falcon, it's the sheer complexity of training. For Mirror SD, it's the data speed between the two different chips. Each one represents a different, clever strategy for engineering that truce between our titan. So, what does all this mean for the future of how AI works? Well, it means the debate is pretty much over. It's not about choosing a winner anymore. It's not speed or scale. The future is all about intelligent integration. And this right here is the key takeaway. The future architecture is one where continuous batching is the non-negotiable baseline. You have to have that for throughput and economic efficiency. But then, on top of that solid foundation, engineers are now intelligently integrating these new, smarter forms of speculation just to reclaim that speed and low latency that all of us crave as users. We're moving from finding efficiency by accident to actually engineering it by design. This quote just perfectly captures this monumental shift in thinking. That idle compute we talked about, that gap that was created by the memory bottleneck, is no longer some accidental leftover that we can exploit. It is now a resource that is deliberately engineered into the system right from the ground up. And that brings us to our final thought. As engineers finally solve this massive conflict between speed and scale, a new, even more subtle bottleneck is going to inevitably reveal itself. That's just the nature of progress. So the question that's really going to drive the next wave of innovation is this: what is that next invisible barrier that we haven't even seen yet?